This is TWiT.
I think it's time, perhaps, for a little trip to Okanagan.
Yeah, we're going back. It was about 3 months ago that I came back from the Okanagan Valley with stories of, well, not only the crisis with their wine, because they had that big freeze that killed all the grapes, and they're still recovering from all that, but I had a chance to visit the Okanagan Spirits Craft Distillery, which has a visitor center in Kelowna, where we were, and then further north, up above the north part of the lakes, is where their main distillery is, in a place called Vernon. And these are the folks that started out making, because they are in fruit region, they made fruit brandies, kirsch and the like, grappa, that kind of thing, including and vodkas and gin. But they eventually got into making whiskey as well. And while I was there, I took the opportunity to enter the lottery. And the lotteries was for an opportunity to buy the Laird of the Fintry edition. And I won the opportunity to buy a bottle.
You won the Laird of the Fintry?
I was very, very lucky. And so I ordered 2 bottles. And when I got home from my travels, there they are. I got 2 bottles.
Oh, it's the Laird of the Fintry.
Now, only one of these is the lottery edition. The reason they have the lottery, and it's right on the label there, is that they only make 5,000 bottles. And so I got bottle 1893.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And this is a great little marketing play for a small organization like this, that they only are going to produce so much. So great way to pump up your mailing list. And yeah, I had an opportunity to buy, and I immediately bought. And then they came back, the next day and said, would you like to buy more? So I think they did say 30,000 people signed up for the lottery, but I don't know how many actually
stock up,
pulled the trigger. Now, again, we talked about Laird of the Fintry 3 months ago with their, what they called the BSV pipe. So first off, Laird of the Fintry is actually, Fintry is a location, the Fintry Delta. This is the set of lakes that are the Okanagan Lakes, have rivers running between them, and there is a delta area. And the Fintry Delta was owned back in the very early 1900s by one Captain James Cameron Dunwaters, who called himself the Laird of Fintry Delta. And he did import a private label whiskey from Scotland, which he then labeled as Laird of the Fintry. So that's got nothing to do with this, although apparently they've matched the label design.
I love the design.
Yeah, it's an old school, like 1910, 1920 style labeling. And so the one that I talked about 3 months ago was that BSV pipe, and this is a different edition. So they're following classic Scottish whiskey style. This is entirely barley, and barley from British Columbia. That's part of their claim to fame. And then they do an aging for 5 years in American oak, and that's virgin American oak. They have other editions where they use Jack Daniel barrels, but in this case, it is actually raw oak. So 5 years in that. And then they do a finish in something else. So in the case of the BSV that we talked about last time, BSV pipe is actually a kind of port. And so they're doing a port finish. Very classic. This is actually a Quails Gate Foch. So Quails Gate is a very popular distillery.
Now we are going to get taken down.
Said that word very carefully.
What?
F-O-C-H. Foch. Yes. So Quails Gate is a very well-known winery in the Okanagan Valley. There's more than 100 of them. This is one in the top 10. And the Foch is a particular kind of grape. It's a French wine hybrid grape that was developed in the early 1900s. So this is a hybridization of the Vitis ripiera and the Vitis ripetieris. These were considered inferior grapes, but they're very hardy. So when you're going to make wine in the colonies, these are the kinds of grapes you would take along. And it's actually named, the grape is named for Ferdinand Foch, who was the Supreme Allied Commander in World War I.
The general.
Yeah.
I think, yes.
Ferdinand Foch.
Field Marshal Foch.
That's right. Supreme Allied Commander.
Right.
So the grape arrived in North America in 1946, primarily on the East Coast, because it was tended to be grown in colder areas. So in the U.S., places like Minnesota and Ohio and Colorado, and in Canada, in Ontario and Quebec and Nova Scotia, and BC Okanagan Valley. Now, the funny part is this, it's a good grape, by the way. I've drank the wine, Quails Gate Foch, one of my favorites. But it's not that popular the French barely grow it because they're really against the hybrids. They stick strictly with Vitis vinifera, which is the sort of classic wine grape, and to the point now where there are EU rules about what grape you're allowed to grow in these areas, right? So in the 80s, a lot of the hybrid grapes were removed to replace with the classic grapes, right? And that name, the Vitis vinifera, covers a huge range. I literally was looking up the names from a Brusco to the Zinfandel, which is the Austrian version of Zinfandel. This is the grape that has been made. They've literally made wine for 8,000 years. Like there is evidence of winemaking with this grape, with these kinds of grape in 6,000 BCs. So the Foch's an odd duck, but the good thing about that grape is that it depending on how you treat it, you get an array of wines, and you can get these big, rich wines, which is the direction that Quails Gate goes in, which makes it a good finishing barrel. It adds a lot of layer. And if you look at the color on this for a 5-year-old, right? And they're not doing a chill filtration or coloring or anything. This is a lot of this has to have come from the wine. But remember, I bought 2. So this was the lottery bottle, of which there was only 5,000. I got one of them. But this, my friends, is the cask strength.
Oh, baby.
But they're both lot 11. So this is a weird opportunity. These are 2 exactly the same produced versions of whiskey. One has been cut with water to be 42%. That's the lottery edition. And this is what they call the black label cask strength.
You can compare them.
Is it 56%?
Interesting.
What order should we drink them in?
I don't know, but I like this idea.
And by we, I mean me, because I have it. But
so one's cask strength, 56% alcohol.
And one is 42.
And one is the nominal strength of
nominal strength. So let's start with the 42, because it should have a little less cloud. And I won't pour too much, because I'm going to have to finish this to put the other one in. They use a synthetic cork. Oh, the air just filled with whiskey smells. So pretty medicinal, like a big alcohol note up front. Mm-hmm. Oh, but nice on the mouth. And there's that fruitiness from the wine. Like, nice. Wow. You know, the fact that this was this alcohol smelling for the 42 makes me vaguely frightened of that 56.
Yeah, no kidding.
Second swallows are always better. Yeah. No, see, that sort of leathery kind of, you know, this is a beautiful, I'm not even going to finish this. I'm going to go grab another glass.
Yeah.
Good thing I have another.
Yeah, save it. Yeah. Fortunately, you have an entire set there. He's ready. He's ready to go.
So now,
Paul and I are just jealous as hell.
Yeah, I got 2 bottles here. But I did this with the Glenmorangie the other days too, when we were in Poland, and we had the original, and then we also had the Nectar d'Or, so you compare and contrast. Now, I think the color on this is a little bit darker.
Oh, it is. Bottle, yeah, look at that. It's rich looking. Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, because in the end, if it's 42% alcohol, what's the other 58%? It's water, right?
Right.
So here we go. This is the 56.
One man, 2 bottles.
You know what? That's not even more. That's not more alcohol smelling. Granted, I've had a couple of sips already, so I'm a little tuned. But okay, yeah. Now, definitely more alcohol. Like you got that sort of shot, but not mean. Not, hey, you just drank a really strong. Oh, it came on later though. Hello.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up now.
That little bite in the, you know, that little bite in the cheeks you get when it's a little astringent. Oh, that's good though. Boy, oh boy.
Mr. Campbell.
Normally you would do a cask strength first, you know, because it's kind of fill you up, and then save that. Like I think I'm going to put the 42, the lottery edition, in the decanter. But the cask strength is going to sit for special occasions, because that's always a fun starter. Nice. But you know, it comes to the sort of truth of the flavors are from the wood. The grain and that alcohol, that's, you know, pretty standard. It's
from the wine consistent. Barrel.
Yeah. That wine barrel lifted it all up.
Marshall Foch
made its thing. And I wish I'd kept a bit of that pipe back, so that I could have had a little of the port finish one as well alongside.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? Try those.
But it was entirely too tasty, and somehow the bottle ended up empty. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that'd be fun. You know, it's great to have these waiting for me, and the fact that you can try 2 versions of the same, it doesn't happen very often. So I was delighted for the opportunity. You guys all got to see it.
Lovely.
Price for the lottery edition, 95 Canadian dollars, not sold outside of Canada. Sorry. And then the cask strength, the 56% is 115 Canadian. So I think that's like $20 American. No, that's not true. So about 25% less. But yeah, they not exporters. Find a friend in BC who can get it for you and bring it down.
So
you'll be delighted with what you get. This is one of those these little distilleries that stays under that 100,000 liters a year threshold, so they pay less tax, and so they generally only sell direct. They don't try and get into stores. They have relationships with different whiskey clubs, and they do these lotteries and things. That's how they make their living, and they can keep a little bit more money. And so a small team of people working in a little town in Vernon in a single distillery make a living making.
That's cool.
50,000 bottles.
How far away is it?
4 hours drive from where I am.
Oh, so it's a bit of a
or we could hop a little local jet up there in an hour.
Right. The 2024 Laird of Fintry Black Label Cask Strength Single Malt Whiskey. Baby.
Yeah, with a name like that, you know somebody had too much time on their hands. But that's a big label. But
well, I'm glad you had this Wednesday time on your hands, folks, for joining us for the Windows Weekly program. That there is Richard Campbell, our whiskey guru. He also hosts a couple of podcasts called Run As Radio and .NET Rocks. People love .NET Rocks, the show you do with Carl.